November 25th, 2025. Chelsea have just beaten Barcelona 3-0 in the Champions League thanks to goals from Esteva Willian and Liam Delap and an own goal from Jules Koundé. Things looked well on their way for Chelsea to qualify directly for the round of 16 in the Champions League. Fast forward to present day and they have just sacked their manager Enzo Maresca and are now staring down the barrel of another uncertain part in their future. So what is wrong with Chelsea? Back in 2022, Chelsea were taken over by a consortium led by American businessman Todd Bowley and his investment group Clear Lake Capital. Since then, the club is being run more like an investment firm rather than a football club. You see every transfer window, Chelsea going for players not many people would have heard of, buying them for prices that you don't think may be worth it, and then flipping them over maybe like a season or half a season later just to turn a profit on some people. I mean, just look at this summer. Things got so bad that half the players couldn't even fit in the dressing room. They had to change in the other dressing room during the preseason. Looking at the summer transfer window, Chelsea did bring in some players that, well, I think everyone would agree that Chelsea would go for. Somebody like João Pedro, Kenji Paez for the future, who was already signed on a pre-agreement, I think 2 years ago. They also brought in a lot of players that I don't think a lot of people expected them to sign. There's plenty of examples for that. I think somebody like Dario Esugo coming from Sporting Club Lisbon, Mike Penders coming in from Genk, and then Alejandro Garnacho coming in from Manchester United. Some of these signings just felt excessive, as the squad was already inflated to the max and they had so many excess players filling up the dressing room. Looking at the summer exits before the season began, three goalkeepers, some youngsters from the academy, in Bashir Humphreys, Carney Chukwumeka, Alfie Gilchrist, all sent out permanently. Even recent signings like Christopher Nkunku sold permanently to AC Milan for pretty much the same price that they had actually purchased him for from RB Leipzig. And then there were other transfers like Ben Chilwell moving to sister club Strasbourg, Kieran Dewsbury Hall moving for the same price that they purchased him from Leicester for £25 million to Everton, João Felix being offloaded to Saudi Arabia, and the most astonishing one being Noni Madueke moving for almost £50 million to London rivals Arsenal. I do not understand how somebody in Chelsea's position can sell directly to a title contender rival like this, and that too for a homegrown English winger. If you look at their transfer strategy over the previous few seasons, they've signed many players with the sole target of just turning a profit and not actually fitting them or gelling them into the first team dynamics. Somebody like Renato Vega came into the squad when there was pretty much no need for him at left back. Yet he was brought in, played just a few matches, was shipped off on loan to Juventus, and then sold off in the summer to Villarreal. Another case would be somebody like Marc Giroud, the young striker who was brought in from Barcelona for like £5 million, given a few starts only in continental football, in the Conference League that too, mind you, and then was sent out on loan to Sunderland at the start of the season, played I think 1 or 2 matches for Sunderland, and then was immediately called back when Liam Delap got injured. It just looked like there was no long-term planning in place by the management. Or so I thought. Before the new year even began, rumors started to come out that there was tension between the Chelsea board and coach Enzo Maresca. The talk was that Maresca had started to grow frustrated at the level of input from outside of his current support staff. From what ESPN learned through Chelsea club sources, it is understood that Maresca thought he would have more of a controlling say in what the club's decisions would be in terms of transfer strategy and player management in terms of game time. Having just come off the back of incredible success in the Club World Cup in the summer, it was thought that Chelsea were only going to get better and better as the season went on. But with the club's structure and stance immovable, Maresca in recent press conferences voiced his concerns over the club's refusal to sign a replacement centre-back for injured homegrown talent Levi Colwill. This explosive press conference started a 48-hour timer pretty much that led to Maresca's dismissal on the 1st of January. Chelsea put it as quote-unquote parting company with their Club World Cup winning manager who had a contract until the summer of 2029, I remind you, and Chelsea have since gone on to replace Enzo Maresca with the far less experienced but still promising Liam Rossania. Which brings me on to my next point, Chelsea and the sister club strategy. For many years, we have seen a lot of clubs with owners having deep pockets, establishing a multi-club structure by owning different clubs in different countries and sometimes in different continents as well. The biggest example of this is Manchester City and the City Football Group. But this is a video about Chelsea, so sticking to Chelsea's topic, Chelsea's owners Blue Co also own the French club Strasbourg. Since Blue Co's purchase of Strasbourg, they have transformed Strasbourg from its own entity into a kind of feeder club for Chelsea. If you don't perform at Chelsea, you get sent out on loan to Strasbourg. If you don't fit into Chelsea's plans, you get sent out permanently to Strasbourg. If you don't currently fit into Chelsea's plans, but you will probably feature for the club in the future, then you get signed by Strasbourg with the promise to get signed by Chelsea in the future, which has been the case for a couple of players. Just to name a few, Ben Chilwell, who did not perform well at Chelsea, was signed for a hefty amount from Leicester, didn't perform up to expectations, and was sent off to Strasbourg permanently. Another one would be Julio Enciso, who was signed from Brighton directly to Strasbourg with the promise of potentially playing for Chelsea in the future. This, however, has not materialized just yet. Some other examples, currently on loan, all from Chelsea. Mamadou Sarr, who was previously actually playing for Strasbourg, was purchased by Chelsea and sent back on loan. Mike Penders, who was signed by Chelsea this summer from Genk, sent out on loan to Strasbourg. And future starlet Kendry Paez, who was actually signed by Chelsea 2 years before his 18th birthday, permanently only signing for the club this summer and immediately being sent out on loan to Strasbourg. Not to mention the fact that Strasbourg's current captain, Emmanuel Emega, has already signed an agreement to sign for Chelsea next summer. It just feels like Strasbourg as a club is being completely taken for granted and being used as the feeder team to Chelsea. In the middle of such an incredible season for a club of Strasbourg's stature, who have never really been able to challenge for the French league title in recent history, are now currently well with a shot of acquiring a position in next year's European competitions. In the middle of this kind of a season, Strasbourg have just had their manager Liam Rossanier just sign for Chelsea. There was no input that could be made from the higher-ups at the club itself, since it was a decision completely handled by Blueco. Kind of felt like just a promotion from B team to A team for Liam Rossanier. Now this is not me putting down the man at all, but somebody like Liam Rossanier does not look like he has the credentials to take on such a huge challenge as Chelsea, especially with all the challenges that come with managing such a huge squad and dealing with this sort of a management. If you look at his previous experiences, he was interim manager of Derby County for a little while before taking over at Hull City, doing an okay job, eventually being sacked by Hull towards the end of the 2024 season, signing for Strasbourg the same summer, and doing a pretty good job for the mid-table French club until January of 2026 when he was just hired by Chelsea. Taking a look at Chelsea's results since that win against Barcelona, they drew to Arsenal, lost to Leeds 3-1, drew against Bournemouth, lost to Atalanta in the Champions League 2-1, then had a couple of wins against Everton in the Premier League and in the EFL Cup against third division side Cardiff City. And since this win against Cardiff City in the EFL Cup, they had not won a game for almost a month. That's 5 straight games without a win in the Premier League. They drew to Newcastle, lost to Aston Villa, drew again to Bournemouth, which proved to be the last game for Enzo Maresca. Having sacked Enzo Maresca and without a coach, assistant coach Callum McFarlane took charge for the match against Manchester City, which they also drew 1-1, and then lost to Fulham on the 8th of January. Liam Rossanier was hired on the same date but couldn't take charge of that match, so he watched from the stands as Chelsea fell to another defeat. While Liam Rossanier has had a positive start to his career as Chelsea boss, with a 5-1 win against Charlton Athletic in the FA Cup, it is yet to be seen what will happen come end of season. If you asked a Chelsea fan in the summer after the Club World Cup win what their aspirations were towards this season, they would have said challenge for all trophies on all fronts given the squad that they boasted. But at the middle juncture of the season, Chelsea are currently 8th in the Premier League, sitting on 31 points from 21 games, behind the likes of Manchester United, who are also a mess, which we will talk about in another video in the future. Chelsea have no wins in their last 5 matches, and the only way it seems like they will find any sort of European football this season will be from the cup tournaments. Speaking of the cup tournaments, they are still in both of them, having defeated Charlton Athletic in the FA Cup. They are now into the fourth round. It is to be seen which team they play against since the draw hasn't happened yet. They are still in the EFL Cup facing City rivals Arsenal in the semi-final and in the Champions League. While previously looking at a top 8 finish, they are currently in 13th place with 10 points from 6 matches. Having 2 more games to play, one against Cypriot club Paphos at home and the other against Napoli at the Estadio Diego Armando Maradona. While nobody can count Chelsea out just yet, it is yet to be seen what kind of a future lies ahead for the Blues. With such a turbulent management, no sense of continuity, constant chopping and changing within the squad, and a lack of cohesion overall within the entire club as a setup. But what do you think, Chelsea fans, or even Premier League fans in general? What do you think will happen to Chelsea this season? Where will they finish? How will they do in the Champions League and in the cup tournaments, and what lies ahead in the future seasons for Chelsea? If you enjoyed this video, please smash the like button down below. Consider subscribing to our channel. As I already mentioned, there is a Man United video in the works for the future. We will try to get that out as soon as possible. In the meantime though, do let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching guys. Have a wonderful day and we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.